Welcome back. As I said earlier, in what seems to be an executive overreach, what many have termed an executive overreach, President Bola Tinubu has presented a budget for Rivers State for 2025 of over 1 trillion naira before the National Assembly. Of course, we know events preceding this, the declaration of a state of emergency, for which many legal practitioners have frowned on, but depending on which side you belong to. Of course, some have also lauded that position taken by President Bola Tinubu. So what are the legal implications of this latest move by the president? And beyond that, how are River State citizens, taking this? And joining us for this conversation is Mr. Jake Epelle, founder of TAF Africa and indeed a Rivers citizen himself. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Epelle, on the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me, beautiful Bukola.
Initial thoughts, first of all, on this move by the president. Of course, before we begin to talk about the state of things itself between the Minister of the FCT and suspended Governor Fubara. Let's have your thoughts on the presentation of this budget.
Well, President Bola Tinubu has made history, but I think this time on the wrong side of history. This unprecedented move is very worrisome because this is the first time a sitting president, please correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first time a sitting president is presenting the budget of a state because of the void in the democratic structure of that state created by this going to push the so-called sole administrator to do this. And I think they realized, because many of us called on them to examine the legality of a non-elected individual overseeing an elected office which is the institution of a state, And so your guess is as good as mine. Anybody who wants to believe that this is justified has a lot to tell us about the principles of democracy and making sure that an elected individual will administer a state that elected him. Like I said, the president has made history, but I think he's on the wrong side of history by presenting this budget, 1.481 trillion naira. Who is going to administer this? Who? An individual that is not elected by the people is going to spend the people's taxpayers' money? I mean, Nigeria, I think we need to write our own democratic or political science book, which I think will be a very bad New York seller, So this is where we are. It's unfortunate that, again, the good people of Rivers State are bearing this brunt, this democratic rascality. The good people of Rivers State are bearing it, and it's very disheartening. And many times this is what makes me shed tears, because this is not who we are, and this shouldn't happen to us. And a lot of people call me a crying analyst. I make no apologies. I'm being burdened by the injustice that Rivers people are suffering. And any Rivers person, true Rivers person, who endorses this evil, we need to think twice whether that person is truly a Rivers person.
All right, Mr. Epelle, so there's a lot to unpack on this one, but there are other layers we also look at. I know that by Section 121, the governor is supposed to present it, or a representative of him, but the president also has to present. Elected officials have to present. Perhaps that's the reason why they had to backtrack, looking like the fact that, oh, this would be bad legally for the sole administrator to do so. So the president has to do it himself. Just a smart way around what is playing out, because the issue is still an issue under contention even at the Supreme Court to make a determination as to the powers in terms of discretional latitude of 301 when we benchmark that on 11.5 of the Constitution. But my interest, which I'd like you to speak to, is how all of this can come to an end. In the last few weeks, we've seen, this is about 2 months plus since the administrator took over, and he's not been able to account. This is the 4th largest budget at the subnational level. Lagos 3.2 or 3.3, 1.7 for the FCT, 1.5 for Niger State, and this from Rivers 1.4. I think Ogun is another 1.0 something trillion. So this is the 4th largest budget away from the federal government at the subnational level. But we have observed, I personally have observed, that the governor had come out to say, look, don't speak for me if I didn't give you clearance. More like, you're escalating the issue I'm trying to de-escalate, I think, at the forum. And yes, on weekend, the FCT minister said, look, he felt for the man, he's called him my son. I can't fight him, I'm fighting people around him. So it looks like the rhetoric of aggression is beginning to taper. You are an insider. You were at a town hall when things almost escalated. Besides all that is going on, is there something going on behind the scene that gives a bit of glimmer of hope that this is about to be over in any shape or form?
Jeffrey, you have touched on a very sensitive issue for me personally. And because I say that because I am from Opopo, and many times I have seen the injustice that is done, not because he's an Opopo man, but to the person of Siminalai Fubara. Whatever he tries to say, he has a right to say it. And many times what he says is just a political statement. However, let me make it very clear that the office of the governor of Rivers State is bigger than my brother, Singh. He knows it. The mandate of the people is bigger than his own personal interests. I believe he knows it too. You know? Yeah. So, you know, but not representing that office and the people. You know, whatever deal he wants to make, he has a right to make those deals as long as it does not bother on the people of the state and the mandate that the people have given him. You know, so I have a right to express my opinion on the national television, as long as I'm guided by moral principles and most times the legal undertone. So that said, if I go to the public square and say that Jake Epelle is a madman, you know, that doesn't make me a madman. I can come home and laugh at that because I wanted to get attention or I wanted to make an expression. So I just want to give clarification on this. Now, Fubara can say whatever he likes. And you know, politicians, they say what they don't mean sometimes, you know. But however, let's be clear that the people of Rivers State support the elected governor of the state, not necessarily the personality behind it, but the office. This is a revered office. This is one that we collectively, whether anybody would doubt the process which brought him to power, he's gone through every strata of scrutiny, including the Supreme Court. So he is our elected governor, you know, and so he cannot, let me also be very clear on this, you know, I don't work personally for Fubara. So he cannot tell me not to defend the people. He doesn't let me also be very clear. Fubara had never, not one time, sent Jake Epelle to go and defend him. I don't have that time. I'm not that, I'm Jeffrey, I'm 64. He cannot tell me what to do. He's a younger brother to me. Whether he's a political son to Wike, and let's be clear. If you consider this individual your political son, why do you have to drag him so much into the mud to get to where we are? And now you're saying he's your political son. Please, that's fine. You know, the important thing is, when I say that's fine, that's not an endorsement, okay? But the important thing here now is, if this will lead to a genuine peace process outcome, yes, we can go ahead and go for it, if it will lead. But let me also sound a note of warning to Fubara and everybody around him. Don't negotiate things that will put the state in jeopardy. Because I know you, my good friend and brother, you're not as ambitious as some of the other people around you. You are not as desperate as they are. You want to serve the people. It's on record that since Fubara started till today, to the best of my knowledge, he's been doing all this project without a loan. He left over 250 or 60 billion for this administrator who collected another 400 billion. My question, Jeffrey, is who is and who will hold him accountable? Can he boldly, in all honesty, and I challenge him today, publish how you have spent money since you assumed office? I'm not saying what I don't do. Go to my website. You will see my account and annual report and account published on my website. It shows you who gave me money as an organization, how I spent that money. So, you know, and I'm not a public servant per se, but I work for the public because
but Mr. Epelle, Jeffrey rightly, you know, referred to you being an insider, and perhaps you could give us information about what exactly is going on. And against that backdrop, the appropriateness of the presentation of this budget by Mr. President, because we recall reports that the suspended Governor Fubara had met with the president during his vacation, and after that, report also came through about him meeting with, you know, his political godfather, brokered by two governors of the APC, in which he reportedly ate the humble pie in a very, very humbling manner, you know, if you catch my meaning. And after that, reports are to the effect that there's a reconciliation, you know, in process, and the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State may be lifted earlier than even the 6-month period. So what are you hearing about the direction of this reconciliation move, and why the president has had to present the budget in the first place?
Bukola, what I was trying to do was to dissect some of the components of Jeffrey's questions. But you know, first of all, let me correct an impression. When you say I'm an insider, one, I'm not a politician. I'm strictly apolitical. If you say I'm an insider from the perspective of a citizen and an elder statesman, if I will be called so in Rivers matter, yes, I am an insider. But my being an insider is on the surface politically because I don't have access to many of them. I don't even have unfettered access to Fubara. I think I've met Fubara in my life and through as a governor. I think I've met him 3 times, you know, and that's it. And those 3 times meeting, the first one lasted just about an hour. The second one lasted just about 45 minutes. The third one was the shortest meeting. It lasted less than 5 minutes. You know, so I'm not an insider into in that sense in Fubara's camp or Wike, but yes, I go out. I feel the pulse of the people. I'm a proud member of Ijaw National Congress. You know, those are the steps that I've taken to get information. And so back to your question, and to speak specifically, I don't have the insider knowledge of the peace process. I wasn't in the meeting. I don't have the detail of what has come out of that. But what I can tell you for sure is that there is an ongoing peace process and dialogue that is going on closed doors. You know, however, the outcome is what is not in the public domain. There is no doubt that I can confirm that Fubara has met FCT minister in a such humbling and what I would describe as a little bit humiliating manner. But they talked, they met, they hugged, they laughed at each other, they laughed with each other. But this is what they need to do. There has to be sincerity of purpose in this whole process. There has to be sincerity of purpose. You know, I had expected that in the president's presentation of the budget, maybe he would do it in the few coming days. He would have given us a roadmap to restoring the governor, to saying, okay, 29th May is around the corner. This man would have been celebrating, I think, his third year or in office, so to speak, you know. But look at
second year.
It's come with all kinds of second year. I'm sorry. Thank you, Bukola. The older you become, the weak your memory, but I don't have that. You know, so the point is we need to know the detail of what they are discussing. Fubara must know and should know that whatever he goes indoor to negotiate can take a toll on the people of Rivers State. I think there's a need for him to continue to dialogue with people that he can trust, elders of the state. Let's not make the same mistake that was made in rushing to meet with the president to sign what would have become what today is taunting him. Let's not repeat that history. So there's a need for him to engage with people that he can trust. And Bukola, there's something that is very worrisome for me. It is the fact that there are people that have stood by Fubara, supported him, took the insult from the other camp, and vice versa. I think everybody should be carried along. The FCT minister should stop making statements like trying to sort of technically insult the people that had supported Fubara and tell them that they were the one responsible for where Fubara is now. What would they do for him? You know, as long as that looks like truth, but there's certain truths that you don't tell because it will not heal. You know, any truth that does not heal will hurt. So I think it's important to tone down the rhetorics and pursue this peace holistically. Both camps needs to be uh, there to discuss issues so that we don't keep going back and forth. You know, by the time you bring Fubara home and he is now part of you, and then you're telling him that all the people who have spent their entire life trying to support him doesn't matter anymore. There will be no peace. So
All
the
right.
holistic peace should be possible.
All right. We must anchor at this point. We hope indeed that there will be peace. And there are so many other sides to this that we could have explored. But clearly, it's an ongoing conversation. We must thank you very much at this point. We've been talking with Mr. Epelle, the CEO and founder of TAF Africa, who joined us virtually on this particular conversation. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thank you, Bukala. And I want to use this opportunity to please call on every party to please come to the table with sincerity of purpose and realize that it is the people that suffer the most.
A fine place to leave it there. Thank you very much once again. And from this point, there's more politics to talk about. This time, what is this about the coalition talks and where is it headed? Stay with us for this one coming up after this time out.